Breaking Through to Lasting Motivation is really a program about getting from here to there. Think about it this way. If you have two guys that have a heart attack, both of them decide they really need to make some life changes. They have to eat better, they have to exercise more, take care of themselves. And you come back 6 months or a year later, one of them's doing great, he's lost weight, he's on top of things, he's doing what he needs to do, but the other one is back to the same habits that got him there in the first place. Why? Why does that happen? Why sometimes does motivation actually give us what we need to follow through, to accomplish what we're looking to do, and other times it just seems to fall short? In this program, we follow Dave. We look at Dave as he's a teenager, as he goes through college, as he becomes an adult. We look at what goes on in his life to see what is happening for him with motivation, to really make the ultimate changes that he's looking for in his life, to really become who he's meant to be.
Dave was a happy kid. He loved playing with his neighbor and exploring the world around him. He was always inquisitive. One of his favorite questions was why. Why are things there? Why do they work? He was always looking, always exploring. If you asked him today, he'd tell you that even as a child, he knew somehow he was destined for greatness. Even before he really knew what that meant, he just knew there was something there. Dave came from a good family. His parents loved him. He got along with his brother and sisters. He always had food and clothes and a warm place to live and all that kind of thing. But the problem is, there was something missing for Dave. He was never encouraged to grow, to know who he really was. He never really discovered his true purpose. So even though he had that good home, there was something missing for him. One of the things he grew up knowing is that it's very important to be in control. For their family, emotions were scary. Emotions were too vulnerable. So it was a very controlled family emotionally. So he never had a chance to really explore a lot of those kind of things. If you looked at his baby pictures through grade school and high school and all that, you'd notice something. The smile, the happiness began to fade over time. It wasn't a deep pain or a lot of hurt there. It was just more a loss of joy and inquisitiveness that kind of drained out of his life as he grew older. When he was in the 5th grade, at a family Christmas party, Dave discovered alcohol. He didn't know why, but he just knew it made him feel better, feel happy. When he was in the 9th grade, he got introduced to smoking pot, and it just grabbed him. And about every day after that, for the next few years, he smoked pot. And see, drugs and alcohol did a couple of magic things for Dave. One is they allowed him to experience his emotions. He could feel, he could laugh, he could do things that he couldn't do when he was sober. And the other thing it did was it allowed him to experience, to explore his leadership skills. See, Dave was a natural leader. People would just follow him. People would do what he said. His ideas would take over, people would do that. And he was too inhibited normally, so when he would be high, when he would be drunk, he could explore that leadership. So it released something in him that he really enjoyed and held on to. And one of the things that it did for Dave, he had this natural desire to be an entrepreneur. Now the problem is, when you're an entrepreneur with drugs, that tends to be a pretty short-lived business. So in the 9th grade, Dave's empire came tumbling down when he got caught, got expelled from school for the rest of the year. And for the next couple of years, he wandered, he struggled. He recovered from being expelled, but he was never able to let go of smoking pot and drinking and all that kind of thing. He started smoking cigarettes along with that. He tried several times, but he just couldn't let it go. But then in the 11th grade, just because his buddies did, he tried out for spring soccer. And he really enjoyed it. And so that fall, he decided to sign up for the team, and he went out for soccer and he made it. And I don't know if you've ever watched or played soccer, but there's a ton of running in soccer. So Dave realized running and smoking just don't go together.
Right.
So he decided, I need to quit smoking. And he did, just like that. He stopped smoking cigarettes and pot and never looked back. Now, why? Why was he able to do it then, when for years before that, he couldn't find a way to do it? Why is it that two people have a heart attack or a stroke or get diagnosed with diabetes? One of them makes long, life-lasting changes, and the other one tries for a while, and then falls back into the same habits that got him in trouble in the first place. That's what we're going to be exploring today as we look at breaking through these lasting motivations.
In this program, I essentially discuss three main areas regarding motivation. The first one is what I call lower order motivations. Now, these are the conscious motivations that we have. It might be a motivation that gets us to want to lose weight so that we can fit in our clothes better, or to get a new job so that we can make more money or have more prestige. The kind of motivations that are conscious, like I said, they get us off the couch. They get us to start programs, to join gyms and those kinds of things. Oftentimes, though, these motivations fall short. They'll last for a few weeks, a few months, but then they don't have the oomph in them to push us through to really make those long-term changes that we want to make. The other side that we look at are what I call higher order motivations. These supersede the lower order motivations. They have the ability to overtake and to take us further than them. However, these higher order motivations are divided into two groups. The first group is what I call toxic motivations. These are the things that are in us that get in the way, that trip us up. Oftentimes we don't even realize they're there. They're quiet. They're behind the scenes kind of a thing. They're the voices that talk to us that keep pushing us toward the things we don't want to do, that lead us away from the things that we're trying to do to make the changes. And so in this program, we discover what our toxic motivations are through using some worksheets and some teaching and things like that. I help people decide what those toxic motivations are, to uncover them so they can see what's there, so that they can either change them or embrace them and rewrite them in a way that will fulfill their life better. And the other side of the higher order motivations, you have toxic motivations on one side, we also have our authentic motivations. And your authentic motivations are the things that were put in you, that you were the things you were created to be. Your authentic motivations are the things that really drive you, that would fulfill your desires. And oftentimes, they're so deep, they're so buried and embedded in us that we're not even sure what they are. So another side of what we do in this program is help you draw out what those authentic motivations are for you, so that you can tap into that power, because they have the ability, they have the power to override those toxic motivations. They have the power, as you use what's there, what's in them, to really propel you forward and to take you to where you really want to be.
One way to overrule them is with your authentic motivations. Your authentic motivations, some examples of that. Back to the people that had the heart attack, had the stroke, they made this long life change. They changed who they are. You could have the motivation that, okay, I have to lose weight so I don't get diabetes. I have to eat better so I don't have another heart attack. You can have, they're there, but if that's all there is, that's still the guy that then eventually goes back and eats the same way after a year because, I really like ice cream, so I'll be all right. I made it through the first one. They have valve replacement. I can just have another one if I need to, that kind of thing. An example of an authentic motivation is I want to live. Now, I don't just mean I don't want to die. I mean I want to live. I don't just want to die young. I want to live to be 92 or 110. And when I get to that age, I want to be healthy. I want to live. I want to experience life while I'm here. I want to know my kids and grandkids. I want to enjoy the work I do. I want to live. That's an authentic motivation. That overrules the toxic motivations. That's a way to rewrite them. I tap into this authentic motivation that more than anything I want to live. And I start changing the beliefs of who I am, because these affect my identity. And then I come down and there's only bagels and fruit. I think, well, I'll just eat a little extra fruit and that'll hold me over till lunch. I'll be fine. Not because I'm trying really hard not to eat bagels, but because bagels no longer fit with my identity of who I am, because I want to live. And people who live eat a certain way. And that's who I am now. That's an authentic motivation. Your secret dreams, the ones you don't listen to anymore, the ones you had as a kid and you got rid of because you grew up, and this is life. Those secret dreams, Dave's desire to be a business owner, that was a secret dream that he realized, the best I can do is probably work for somebody. I'm not that smart anyway, so I probably even shouldn't be a manager. I'll just Just get a job. If I get a good job, I'll be fine. But what are the secret dreams that you have? Those deep knowings inside. Dave always knew there was something special. All of you have something special. And you know it. You may have blocked it out over the years. You may have quieted it over the years because it can't happen. That's not really for me. That's just, of course, who wouldn't want that? Everybody wants to be an NBA player. So my dream is just like that. Everybody wants that. So you downplay it. But you have this deep knowing inside of you. That's your authentic motivation talking. You have a created destiny. You were created for something in this world. You're not just happenstance. You were created to change your world in some way. You were put in your world. You weren't born in India. I mean, I don't think, maybe if you were, you came here, you're here. You weren't. You were put here for a reason. There's a world that you're a part of that you have a destiny to affect in some way. Now, some of the attributes of your authentic motivations, some of the things you need to keep in mind, because the lower order ones come and go really quick because there's not a whole lot of depth to them. I want to fit my jeans. Okay, that's cool, and maybe I'll diet for a couple weeks and I start feeling better, but they come and go really quick. Authentic motivations are different. So there's a couple things that you need to keep in mind about the attributes of them. First of all, they demand ongoing life-altering behaviors. An authentic motivation of I want to live in the way I was talking isn't just about I'm going to eat less for the next 6 months, or I'm going to exercise more until summertime, or you know what I mean? An authentic motivation demands ongoing life-altering behaviors. I'm going to become a different person. If you grab onto your authentic motivations, they are going to change you. And you have to be ready for that. I mean, it's a good thing, but it's a serious thing. If it changes your identity, that's a change at the very core of who you are. And these authentic motivations require an identity change. And it's not just for the next little bit as long as I have the energy. This is who I'm going to now be for the rest of my life. It's a life-altering identity change that they require. And the other thing is they demand our full attention. In other words, let's say I realize, okay, I went in and I'm pre-diabetic, so I really need to take care of my body better. I've realized I haven't been a good dad to my kids. I've got 2 or 3 kids, and I really don't spend enough time with them. I spend too much time at work. And I've always had this passion to start my own business. If I try and take all 3 of those authentic motivations at once and put them to work, it's going to kill me. I might have to decide one over the other. Let's say I decide, okay, I'm going to be a better dad. That's who I am. I'm not just the busy guy who doesn't know how to talk to his teenage kids. I'm a dad. I have it in me to be able to relate to my kids. That's who I am. I'm going to find out what that means. I'm going to grow into that. And I allow that authentic motivation to take over and change me. And then as I do that, maybe my desire to start a nonprofit, I say, hey kids, let's do this together. And so then I imply that motivation. It's neither implore nor imply, but anyway, I take it and I work that motivation now. As I'm building my relationship with my kids, I do that. I guarantee as you're doing this, you're going to start eating healthier, your weight's going to adjust, and all that kind of thing. But then then you can say, okay, I need to really now focus on I'm a healthy person and so forth. But if you try to do everything at once, it's overwhelming. Because authentic motivations, to change an identity is an every moment thing, especially at first. I'm reaching for that donut, I say, wait a second, that's not who I am anymore. I have to, it's tough to make that change. It's a conscious effort, so you can't change everything at once. So to get that life-altering change, it takes our attention. It's not necessarily a lot of willpower. It really isn't willpower. It's a change in our thinking, a change in my belief of who I am. It's a lot of work to change who I believe who I am, but I'm not trying really hard to act differently. I'm trying to change how I see myself, and then if I change how I see myself, my actions will follow. An athlete gets up and goes running every day. So as I change and become an athlete in my identity, I'll start working out more, because that's what athletes do. So it's that kind of thing. I don't try to change the behavior, I try to change the identity. And you grab onto that authentic motivation for you.
This information can be presented in a few different ways. First of all, it would make a great workshop for a business, for a team to take the members through it. As each individual finds their authentic motivation that will drive them and push them forward and overcome their toxic motivations, that will strengthen the team. You'll find that each team also, as a unit, has toxic motivations. It might be because of past things that have happened, past employees and bosses and interactions. It might be just the history of the organization, and those are things that need to be overcome as a team. Or the team itself has authentic motivations that will give it its meaning and its name and its reason to move forward. And so in a workshop, whether it's 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, depending on how in depth you want to get with this, that can help the team to move forward. The second option is to do it as a keynote for a 60 to 90 minute talk. We would cover the same kinds of things, and everybody would have a chance to learn about toxic motivations, about authentic motivations, and even work through some of the worksheets to at least get started in that process. Obviously, it's not as in-depth and not as personalized, but you can cover more people, and it can be a great way to move people forward in this. And the third option is as a coach situation, where somebody can work with me one-on-one to work through their toxic motivations, their authentic motivations. And we can do this just using the internet, and we can Skype and work through things, have appointments to discuss things as the person works through some homework, and then we get back together. So that can be an in-depth, personalized way to work through this material. If somebody wanted to get a hold of me to find out how we can personalize this package for their organization, then all they would need to do is email me at john@johnandlynn.com, and I would be happy to talk with you, and we can work things through and kind of get some details on what would work best for you so we can do a personalized presentation of this material.